All right, today we're going to unlock a completely new way of looking at the world around you. We're diving headfirst into the basics of sociology. And trust me, it's this incredible field that helps explain all those invisible forces that kind of pull the strings in our lives.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever felt like your own personal struggles, things like finding a decent job, trying to pay off debt, or even just navigating relationships, are part of a much bigger story? Like it's not just about you?
Well, that feeling, that's exactly where sociology kicks in. It basically hands us a brand new pair of glasses, a totally new way of seeing how our individual lives are shaped by the wider world we're all a part of. And the key to this whole new perspective is this amazing concept called the sociological imagination. A sociologist named C.W. Mills came up with it. And really, all it means is developing this super clear awareness of how your personal experiences connect to the wider society. It's about seeing how your own little story fits into the giant epic story of history and social forces.
Okay, let's see how this works in the real world. Think about this. If one person in a huge city is unemployed, we tend to look at that as a private issue, right? Maybe it's about their character, their skills, something personal. But what if 30 or 40% of all the young people in that society are unemployed? Suddenly, it's not just a personal problem anymore, is it? No way. It becomes a public issue. And that forces us to stop looking at individuals and start looking at the bigger picture, the economic and political structures of the whole society.
So that's the big question then. How do we actually study these big public issues? Well, this brings us right to the heart of what sociology is. It's the science of society. The guy who's often called the father of sociology, a fella named Auguste Comte, he's the one who gave us this core definition. His big idea was that we should use the same kind of systematic, scientific methods to understand the laws that govern our social world, just like we do for the natural world. Okay, but what kind of science are we talking about here? I mean, science isn't just one thing, right? You've got the formal sciences, like math and logic, all abstract stuff. Then you have the natural sciences, physics, biology, studying the physical world. Sociology fits into this third really cool category, the social sciences. This is where we turn the scientific lens back on ourselves, on our behavior, our interactions, and the societies we build.
And this is where it gets tricky, but also fascinating. In, say, chemistry, you can run a controlled experiment in a lab, but you can't exactly put a whole society in a test tube, can you? Studying humans is just inherently complex and messy. So while sociologists are always striving for objectivity, they also have to deal with the human element, our feelings, our culture, our constantly shifting perspectives.
All right, so if sociology is the science of society, that kind of begs a pretty important question. What exactly is a society? Let's break that down.
One of my favorite definitions, it's just so simple and elegant, comes from a sociologist named MacIver. He said, society is a web of social relationships. That's it. It's all about those complex, always changing connections between people. And that web doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's built up in stages. First, you just have a bunch of people living in the same general area. Then they start interacting with each other over and over. Pretty soon, those interactions start to form patterns. And those patterns create institutions, things like family, and finally, you get customs and norms popping up to regulate how everyone behaves. It's a really organic process when you think about it. And what's so wild is that society is this constant balancing act. It's never just one thing. It's this messy, beautiful mix of people working together and also competing with each other. It's built on our similarities, but also on our differences. And this whole thing is held together by culture, it's guided by social rules, and this is key, it is always changing. It is never, ever static.
So you might be wondering, if it's always changing, what gives it any structure at all? What holds it together? Well, that's where we get to what you could call the major pillars of society. These pillars are what sociologists call social institutions, and a really simple way to think about them is as the established rulebooks for how we do things. They're these big, organized patterns of behavior that have all grown up around meeting our most basic needs as a group. They're what give our lives a sense of predictability and order. Let's start with the big one, family. It's the first and most fundamental institution for just about everyone. I mean, it's the basic unit where we're born, nurtured, and where we first learn all the unwritten rules of how to be a person in society, long before school or anything else gets to us. Next up, we've got education. This is the more formal system that society sets up to pass down knowledge, skills, and important cultural values from one generation to the next. It's really about preparing us to take our place in all the other institutions, like the economy or government.
And of course, there's the economy. This is the whole massive system for producing, distributing, and consuming goods and services. Basically, everything from the food on your table to the phone in your hand. And it has a huge impact, fundamentally shaping our daily routines and the opportunities we have in life. Now, to keep everything from falling into chaos, we have government and politics. This is the institution in charge of making laws, keeping order, and creating a system for making big decisions that affect everyone in the society. And finally, let's talk about religion. For a huge number of people and societies, this institution provides a really crucial set of beliefs and practices. It guides moral and ethical behavior, and it deeply influences a society's culture, its core values, and sometimes even its laws.
Okay, so when we put all these pieces together, the sociological imagination, this idea of a science of society, and these core institutions, it all leads us to the big takeaway.
Here's the thing. Sociology isn't just some dusty academic subject. It's a powerful tool. It gives us the ability to see the invisible forces and the hidden social patterns that shape our individual lives. It shows us how we're all connected and how those connections steer our personal journeys. And that brings us right back to the very beginning. So now that you have this new lens, I want to leave you with a final thought, a question to chew on. Take a look at your own life. What's a private issue that you're dealing with that might, just might, actually be a public issue when you look at it with your new sociological imagination?